All right, welcome back to Bayou Time. As promised, we have Pastor Duane Bland, very familiar face here in the area. He does so much for the community. And Kayla Bland, and she happens to be his daughter, but so much more now. I remember Kayla when she was about knee-high. Now she's doing all these great things for Thibodaux Family Church, and it's great to have you all on board. Thanks for coming.
Thank you. We're honored to be with you.
All right, so I told the audience, let me go to the front camera if we can. And there it is, Tim Tebow, the guy that menaced LSU fans for years as a Florida Gator quarterback, Heisman Trophy winner. Guess what? He's a pretty good guy.
Yeah.
He's a real good guy. And Thibodaux Family Church teaming up with his foundation to do something great in this area, and you got to listen to this. This is good stuff. So, Pastor Duane, I'm going to come to you first. Kayla, I'm not avoiding you because I got plenty of questions for you. But what a great thing, and I know you're sports-oriented. We know Tim Tebow. We know his story. But that's big time. How did you even know he had this and what was going on? How did you become acclimated to this?
Well, last year about this time, we had the opportunity to work with a ministry called Right Now Medium. It's a program that we bought into as a missions outreach to our community, where our church and other members can actually go out and become a part of this ministry, where you can learn a lot of different things about life. You can learn about marriage success, financial success, how to find joy. It's just a great ministry tool. And so it's around this time, around football season, that Kayla said, "Dad, why don't we do a series on football?" And Tim Tebow has this a series of lessons that he's going to do, and you're going to tag team with him. He's going to minister a little bit, and you'll minister behind him. And so we had that opportunity to do that, and in that program, we got to see some of the events that he carried, or he has actually spearheaded. Mm-hmm. And so from there, Kayla, being inquisitive and wanting to find out how can we be more effective of reaching our community and perhaps reaching a segment of our community that we're not reaching, she came across Tim Tebow's Night Out to Shine. And so that's really how the journey began, and then we began to apply for it. And
so let me ask you, Kayla. Kayla's the event coordinator too at Thibodaux Family Church. So you're watching. Obviously, you knew your daddy loved football. So you see Tim Tebow's deals. So what was it that you saw in those messages that drew you towards Tim Tebow?
Well, his messages are always about the love of God to God's people and events like that. And in one of the messages, he talked about that in the Philippines, there was a little boy, and the people who he was there ministering to wanted to hide him away from Tim Tebow. They didn't want Tim Tebow to see him. They thought maybe he wouldn't want to minister to the people if they saw this little boy with special needs. And so Tim Tebow ended up coming across. One of the other little boys came run up to him and wanted him to come see this little boy. And so when he saw him, and he said that he immediately started crying because he knew that the people kind of wanted to hide him, and he had a heart for the little boy. And so this kind of started the foundation of the Night to Shine, that people with special needs deserve to know the love of God, and that they are special in God's eyes, and they should be special in everyone's eyes.
You know, we talked about that quite a bit. I have a very good friend who has a Down syndrome boy, and we love him to death. But when he first was born, we didn't know how to react. But then you see guys like Tim Tebow in your organization now getting involved with this. They're people.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And they laugh, they cut up, they have fun. And what was it about Night to Shine that captured you? I just love the message behind it, that, like we said, everyone deserves to know God's love, and that everyone is created for a purpose, and that we're created beautifully and perfectly in God's eyes. And I think that everyone
needs to know this, and everyone deserves to know this. And so part of the mission through him is just a simple celebration that they are special and that they need to be known that they're special.
So let's break it down even further. We're going to show a video on the second segment. Folks, you got to stay around for this video. It's going to grab you, I promise you. So I want you to sort of set the scene of where we are now, what's going on. I know there's a luncheon coming up where community can get involved, but how massive is this? How much work goes into this? And I know you smile a little bit because there's a lot of work that goes. You don't just show up one day and this event goes on. Let me just show the audience real quick. This is only part of it. It's pretty thick of requirements and things that when Thibodaux Foundation gets involved in something, they don't just say, okay, we come into Thibodaux Family Church. Y'all have to be vetted. Everybody's vetted. It goes down a certain way, so there's a lot of work, I guess. Tell me a little bit about what goes on.
Yeah, there's a lot of work. We have to get a certain number of volunteers and a certain number of guests. The special needs community, we're going to take about 100 members to come, and every member has to have a volunteer. So we need a lot of volunteers with that. We need food vendors. We need what they call them, the paparazzi, but it's the photographers.
Right.
We need florists. We need all kind of things. So it's the whole community coming together to put on a special event for these special people.
And I know, Pastor Duane, that you've been very successful at getting community leaders involved. Night Out Against Crime. I mean, all kind of different things that you do. But I see the mayors show up, the sheriffs show up, the parish presidents show up. But this is not just a Thibodaux deal now. You're reaching out into Houma and St. Mary Parish and different areas. So what's your vision? What would you like to see as far as leaders coming together?
Well, I think we all understand that from the very beginning when we applied for this event, the possibility of hosting this event, they really request that you look at the very stringent details of excellence that they're looking for. And I think that's the significance, is that they want this event to be a night of extreme excellence and wonderful care for not only the participants, but the families, the mothers, the fathers, the caregivers, those that come with our special needs individuals. So when that happened, I can remember Kayla and I sitting there, and I'm like, we can't do this. This is far too extravagant and out of our league. But, you know, if you ever see our program, I didn't move on it real quick. I took a moment to bring it before the Lord, and I prayed about it. And within about a day, I felt like the Lord said I needed to meet with Martin Folse and Tommy Estee. So I called Martin, and Martin graciously came into Thibodaux and sat at our table together, and he didn't know really what it was about. I said, I'd like for you to look at this video and tell me what you think. And so we played the video for him, and he was moved. It struck his heart like it did mine. So after we viewed the video together, he says, I want to be in. And I said, well, what do you think I should do next? And he says, you need to meet with the mayor. And it was just for me a confirmation. And so we went to the city of Thibodaux and met with the mayor and a member of his staff, Rhonda Dempster, and they both looked at me as well as Martin did and said, we can do this. This is not as difficult as you think. And I'm thinking to myself, thank God somebody thinks it's easy. So from there, we went ahead and applied. And we really made no reference to anything, not knowing if we would be accepted or not, but we were.
Yeah, and I want to reiterate, this is not something that you just send off and you automatically
No.
pay. You have to be accepted.
That's correct.
So he had to get back. So you had to fill out all kind of things, and tell me that process, Kayla.
That was a long process. It was a nerve process just because we wanted to be accepted, and so you have nerves about it, like, oh, what if we're not, I guess, good enough in their eyes to host this event. But so it was a long couple of months, a lot of prayers, and just saying that if it's meant for us, that we would get accepted. And the day that we got accepted, I called my dad and I was like, "Yeah, did you get the email? We got accepted." So we were very excited when we saw that we were accepted.
Yeah,
and that was the first step.
Then the responsibility then hits you that, oh my
Right.
God, now I'm responsible for this. But we're excited about it. We know that it'll come together.
But you know, that's the thing. You get accepted. And now I guess what I'm doing as a station is we need the mayors.
Absolutely.
We need the parish presidents. We need the parishes to come together. This is not just a Thibodaux deal.
Right.
We want St. Mary. We want Assumption. We want the Grand Isle community. We want Homa. Because when they see this video, they can understand what it's all about. So when you first heard the call comes through, you're accepted. Now you got to put, like you said, the food together, the venue together. It's going to be held at the church, right?
Yes, sir.
You're going to put big tents. What's the plan at the church itself?
There are quite a few dynamics that they're expecting of us that evening. So we're hoping that the church itself, the sanctuary, will be used as the place of celebration, where we can have because we have all of our own sound equipment, the different lightings that we need, so we can have fun on the inside. But we're looking for, and we think that we need a nice tent that possibly can be warmed, because this will be held in February, and possibly, and I know the city of Thibodaux has given us an opportunity to possibly use a couple of their smaller tents that they have. So we think that between our parking lot and the means of warming things up, and then the church service, because the possibility of, we know that it seems like you're going to have 100 participants, but when you start adding up all the different things that are required, that evening could possibly host between 500 to 700 people. Mm-hmm. And so there's a lot of dynamics that go on, but ultimately it's about the celebration of our special needs residents as well as their families. I think, sometimes we look at the special need individual without reflecting on the needs of the family. Just a night to just know that their children are being loved. I had a phone call from one of our local residents when they kind of got word that the secret was slowly beginning to leak out. And they called because they have a special needs child, and they shared with us that they had rented a limo for the last couple of years, and they drove their children all the way into Lafayette to bring their children to a Tim Tebow festivity. And so they were quite excited, and as well as wanting to participate. And so it should be a wonderful evening.
It's like good for Lafayette, but we needed one here.
I agree.
And y'all stepped up and did it. Now, but there's a lot of people watching. Of course, with special needs, sometimes comes special circumstance. Some kids have autism, let's say, or the sounds get to them a little bit. Y'all have addressed all of this through this. I'm reading this. It's pretty thorough.
It is.
So you have places for everybody to feel comfortable, don't you? Mm-hmm. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so everyone gets to walk in on a red carpet, and they all get celebrated and introduced into the building with a cheering squad. But we're also going to have, we're either going to have another red carpet, or we'll have some hand signals for the people who do get overstimulated, to where we don't overstimulate them. And then we'll also have a separate dance floor for people who, or separate room for them, for people who are overstimulated, that they will have a place to go where it is quieter. Right. So just to meet everyone's needs.
It's almost sort of like little codes where you don't really...
Not cheering too loud.
Yeah, right. So you'll have it all worked out where to go. All right, we're going to take a short break. When we come back, we're going to play a video for you. And I'm going to let Kayla set up the video along with the pastor. When you see this video, we're going to put a number on the screen where you can call the pastor and Kayla to get involved, because I promise you, after you see this video, you're going to want to be a part of this. Don't go away.